Good afternoon. I hope this finds everyone well. My name's Casey Bader. I'm a vice president here at Handle Information Technologies. And in today's RiteTrack webinar, we're going to talk about how the system can enhance case management for juvenile probation and diversion programs. I'm going to start with a brief introduction to RiteTrack, and then we're going to get right into a demonstration of the system and look at all of the functionality available. Standard functionality, I should say. Get my focus back. There we go. For those of you who are not aware, RiteTrack is a software program developed for juvenile justice. It offers standard modules for juvenile courts, diversion and probation, which is going to be our focus today, and also juvenile detention. Sometimes these modules are implemented individually, and an agency, county, or state will use just one, but very often they're also implemented together that enables collaboration and appropriate data sharing between departments. There's a couple of different options as to how RiteTrack may be implemented. In addition to the standard modules and all of the standard functionality, RiteTrack is a customizable platform. So our goal with the standard modules is, can we provide a system that is 70, 75, even 80% of what most probation and diversion programs would need, knowing that you'll have unique requirements, different forms, documents you generate, and reports. And so part of the implementation is customizing that additional pieces so that it is truly reflective of your data needs and business processes. RiteTrack is web-based. That does not mean it lives in the cloud. Your agency can host the system yourself, or we do offer a cloud-based hosting solution. If there's anybody out there in IT, might be of a primary interest to you. RiteTrack, being not just web-based, is also mobile, so it can be used on tablets and phones, and so in the field or for any out-of-office work. Importantly, in any database system is security, and RiteTrack, from the database through the application level, has security on the technical side, and then from the system side, our customers are able to define their own security model that will dictate what information different users have access to. So they may have read-only access to some information, add and edit access or privileges for some, and the inability to see other data at all. And again, that's something that each implementation, each customer decides upon, and then we configure in the system. And then finally, no database system is worth its salt, if you will, unless reporting is a big part of it. And the RiteTrack takes the data contained in the system and creates information that can be useful out of that through our reporting. I'll put this slide back up at the end. If you're interested in more information, there's going to be my email address, as well as info@Handle IT for just general information requests, our toll-free number, and I'd encourage you to check out our website for a list of upcoming webinars, as well as links to past webinars, conferences, and presentations that Handle will be involved in. So thanks again for joining me. Let's go ahead and take a look at RiteTrack. So I mentioned RiteTrack's a web-based system, and I am using it in a browser here. It does have secure login, and once I sign in, and I am an administrator, so I'm able to see everything. The first thing that I'm presented with is my dashboard, and each user is able to set up their own dashboard, and the dashboard's intent is to display to you the information that is most pertinent to you each day when you log in, and basically any form or report in RiteTrack can be set up as a dashboard tile. So what I have configured here is my own personal hearing calendar. The calendar is interactive in that if I want to go to this trial record, I can either click on it or right-click on it and then choose to open the link in New Tab. And then I can go and work with that record without having to navigate away from where I'm already at in RiteTrack. So RiteTrack allows you to have multiple windows or instances of the system open. It's been very popular with our users as it eliminates some of the need for searching and navigation, as much of the data in RiteTrack is hyperlinked. My next dashboard tile is active probation cases, and the text in blue also hyperlinks. If I wanted to go to this case record, I can open that. And I can also open Joe Walsh's person record separately and review those and work with them as needed, and then come back to my primary RiteTrack screen. And finally, as the last dashboard tile, as an example, active people with active sanctions. And again, this is also interactive. I can access the dashboard at any time by clicking RiteTrack up here in the upper left corner. And beneath that, as we take a look at some of the navigation features of the system, I have our search bar. And from here, I can search across all data in the system or just organizations, persons, hearings, or groups. And once RiteTrack finds what I'm searching for, when I'm going to work with that record, I can favorite that person by clicking the star next to their name. And what that does is it puts them into my favorites or desktop view. And now I see that Thomas Test is in my desktop, and I can go and work with his record as needed. And then when I'm no longer working with it, I simply click on the star next to his name and unfavorite him, and it takes him out of my desktop. Below the search bar are three different sections that we're going to look at. The last is administration and not pertinent to our needs today. The first, come back here. There we go. The first is the information about the current user. And so we have summary information, name, supervisor, employment start and end dates, also case plans that this user is involved in. And I'll go through case plans and hearings and more once we get to a client record. Hearings that this user is a part of or has been. Contact information includes addresses, phone numbers, and emails. How this user has their dashboard configured. And finally, something we'll see all throughout RiteTrack, and those are documents and notes. It's the same interface, and again, I'll go through this in more detail when we get to a client record. The only difference is, what is this document or note attached to? In this case, it would be to this staff record, but that might be a client record, a case record, an assessment, multiple places that will have documents as well as notes and places for narrative in RiteTrack. Our next section is our actions. And from here, I can create a new organization, person, hearing, or group. And I also have access to, there we go, the global or statistical reports available in the system. And we'll circle back to these once we've looked at the person, case, organization, and group records and the data that's collected, and then how this data is brought together, summarized, and made into statistical information through RiteTrack reports. Where users will spend most of their time and do most of their work will be in their favorites or desktop view. And here I have access to the groups, organizations, people, and cases that I'm currently working with. RiteTrack is a person-centric system. A person isn't a case, they're not a case number, they're a person ID, and they may be involved with more than one case. So being a person-centric system, we'll start with the person record, and I'm going to use Mr. West here, Joseph, as my sample example person. You can see under the person info screen, we have a battery of different demographics, and also have configured the system to display the alerts on this individual. In this case, he has suicidal ideation and a history of violence, as well as individuals that are assigned to his cases. So what other users or outside professionals are involved with his cases, with links to those cases, so it'll take me directly to those other staff members or care providers. Next, we have reports that are available on Joseph, and I'll come back to those after we go through the functionality. Then arrests, documenting the arresting agency, if known, the arresting officer, when it occurred and where, as well as narrative about the arrest. Background information includes aliases, current or and past education history, insurance information, insurance type, the organization who carries their insurance, the number, the group number, and then the start and end dates for this their membership in this insurance. Legal numbers, and as I mentioned, people have a person ID, a unique identifier in RiteTrack, but they also have other legal numbers like driver's license, passport number, incarceration number. This is the place where we document that, along with the number and whether or not it is current. And the last of our background information is relationships. This is where we relate individuals in the system. In this case, I've shown that Terry is Joseph's father. The relationship is father and child. And we can document as well whether this person is a guardian, emergency contact, currently cohabitates with this individual, or is flagged for no contact. After background information, we have the cases that this person is involved with, and we'll look at cases separately once we get through the person record. We saw this briefly under the user record, the addresses, emails, and phone numbers. They're very straightforward, just what you'd expect them to be. The only thing to point out is that RiteTrack does include the ability to we interface with Google Maps to do an address assistant search. And if we are able to confirm that address through Google Maps, it will pre-populate that address appropriately, and also provides us with latitude and longitude from which we can do better geographical reporting. Documents is a place where I'm able to import anything I can store electronically into RiteTrack. Now, very often, this may be something you've received like a driver's license or an application for a program that you've received in a hard copy, digital photograph, and any of these things can be imported into RiteTrack as a document. And again, we'll see documents all throughout the system, as we will notes. And notes is a place for a narrative of something, a contact that happened, when did it occur, what type of contact was this, and what is the narrative. And then we have our youth activity, and there'll be some overlap here. We'll see that some of this information is available both on a person record and a case record. It's the same information, it's not duplicate entered. It's just being displayed in different places for ease of navigation. And so we'll pass over those quickly when we get to a case, but we will go through all of the available functionality under youth activity here on the client record. We saw this on the dashboard, but the first is alerts. So what is this alert? And excuse me, date range for that, as well as comment. Any assessments that have been completed. Now, so far, I've been opening the detail view, or rather the edit view of records, but there's also a detail view, which many times will expose even more information about this record. So when I open that, I see I still have summary information about the assessment. What assessment was it? Was there a score or score result? When does it expire? Do we have a hard copy on file? But I also have access to the associated cases, as well as documents where we may have imported, if this was done in hard copy, the actual assessment. Similarly, charges, if I open up the details of a charge, in addition to the summary detail information, what charge was this, account, when and where did it occur, and is related to a prior charge, and which case number is this charge related to, but also the status history of this charge. So what has been the process that it has went through. Case plans are available for more of the diversion side is the intention, and case plans have a lot going more available in the details, including participants in this case plan and their role. The associated cases, documents and notes, of course, The status history. Oh, I should point out in this note that RiteTrack has the ability to be configured to insert default text into note fields. So if it is a 30-day review, there may be some prompts that you want to add to the note field to ensure that people enter the correct information. And so I can insert default text here, and it will update that and start the note pre-filled with prompts for the information that should be added to whatever type of note or contact this is. And the status history of this case plan. It was started and is currently in progress. And then importantly, the goals for this case plan. And in addition to the goals that we define, also the action items. So in order to address this goal, here are the things that should be done and who is responsible for those. And what is its priority and when are these goal actions due? And they also have, if we look at the details of a goal, both problems and goals status history. So we can show as they progress through different levels of the case plan, show that both on the goal and problem level. All right, I lost my place. Now let me get back to Joseph. After case plans is community service. If I look at the details of community service, we have the number of hours that were assigned, if any were waived, when this was assigned or issued, and when it is due by. And additionally, we can see here a calculation of remaining hours because we also document each time any of this community service was completed. Fines and fees and restitution work in very much the same way, in that we have what type of fine, fee, or restitution was this, the amount, if any was waived, issued, and due by, and then the related case. And within the details, we can find payments that have been made towards this fine. And again, a running tally of the remaining amount. Bouncing to the end, because it is very similar, I'll touch on restitution. Very similar again to fines and fees, only now we are defining to whom a person or organization is this restitution owed. And of course, we also track payments towards that restitution. RiteTrack allows you to document drug tests, and in the details of the drug tests, we'll find not just information about the test, what type was it, was there a blood alcohol content associated with it, but also cases that this drug test is associated with, any documents that have been imported into the record, and then depending on what type of drug test it is, in this case, it's an 8-panel drug test, RiteTrack can be configured to automatically generate records for each of the drugs that were tested for, and then they can each have their own outcome, either initial and if they were then sent to the lab, what the lab outcome was. After drug testing, we'll look at these separately, our groups that this individual is involved in, and then hearings, where if we look at the details of a hearing, we have when and where it occurred, as well as its outcome. If it was related to a prior hearing, what was that? And then a narrative, as well as individuals who were present and cases that were a part of this hearing or associated with this hearing, I should say. And that is all of the standard functionality on an individual and a client record, a person record. There's also reports available on this individual's record that are specific to this individual, like their outstanding probation fines, outstanding restitution, individuals that are assigned to their case, and their charge history. The next thing we'll look at is our case records. And we'll see some overlap here in what we saw in the person record, in that we also have assessments, case plans, community service, drug test hearings, fines, and restitution. It's the same interface, again, the same data that we saw on a client record, it's just now we're showing it on the case record. But I will go through the other areas that are unique to the case. And the first being, again, individuals that have been assigned to this case and their role. Case activity, we've seen much of this. We haven't seen yet are contacts. So these are specific to the case, and like other notes, depending on the contact type, we can have default text in the note field, and RiteTrack does calculate for the contacts based upon start and end date and time, the time spent with this interaction with your clients. And then we have violations as a part of our case record, and with violations associated sanctions. And also incentives that have been earned, including what type was that, is there a dollar amount associated with it, and the reason. And then charges, which we've seen before, but only these are specific to the case, documents and notes, and then the status history that this case has went through. Some reports available, on the case record as well, like a case summary, which will document in all the information that is found in the navigation or desktop view in a report that can be then printed or exported to other file formats like PDF or Word. Two other things that we want to look at here that are in my desktop view. The first is our groups. So groups, classes, anything that you have that you are administering, or maybe that you aren't, but tracking your use involvement in. What is this group? What youth have been enrolled in this group? And then for each session, we document information about the session, what was the topic, and who was in attendance, or were they in attendance, and how they attended. And the last piece we'll look at is organizations. So this might be law enforcement, schools, hospitals, any other organization or agency in the community that may be involved with your clients and your cases in some way. And you can see here, I can find whether or not this organization was involved in the case plans, charges, community service, fines, and fees, etc. So groups, organizations, people, and cases. And once that data, we have a database full of information, of data, we turn it into information through RiteTrack reports. And our philosophy with reports are, if the data is in RiteTrack, we'll have a statistical report that is available to you to pull that information out, like our active person cases or arrest statistics. Including breakout of the arrests, and then graphs and charts that break it down by, in this case, by race and gender and age of arrest, in addition to other information. Other statistical reports are very similar. Charge statistics, you'll see a breakout of all charges over the date range. I should also mention RiteTrack reports, many of RiteTrack's reports, statistical reports are multiple parameter reports. And so I can actually change the parameters for the report and even choose what sections of the report I wish to view. Some others, we have active person case sanctions, summary of assessments that have been administered over a date range, where I can drill down into the type of assessment that I want to see. Outstanding and payments towards conditions like community service, restitution, and fines and fees. Oh, we don't have any outstanding community service, restitution payments that have been made. And again, these same reports for our fines, restitution, as well as community service. Information about drug test, hearings. Again, if the data is in RiteTrack, we have a statistical report that will allow you to very easily glean information from the data in your system. And through the ability to manage data electronically, the goal is to eliminate paperwork, save staff time, allow them to spend more time with your youth, and hopefully affect better outcomes for them. And then through the reporting and information you get from your data, it can inform you as to the demographics, of course, of the youth that have been coming through your programs, but also trends that you may make changes to address, and again, with the goal of improving the outcomes for the youth in your care. So that's everything I wanted to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I'll leave this slide up with contact information. If you are interested in learning more, please reach out to us. My office will also be following up with an email to you with a link to a recording of this webinar if you'd like to revisit it or share it with any colleagues. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.